Please give a warm welcome to Nadia McCaffrey.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being here today because of the weather and just to listen to me. Can't figure it out. Maybe. My response to my son's death was to go to Iraq. I wanted to see where he was shot and killed. I wanted to see where he had died. I am not sure why, but it's something that I wanted to do immediately. The second reason was to also, like you just saw, meet with Iraqi mothers who had suffered the loss or losses from the same war. I see it, and I saw it not just as a war, but I saw it as parents, as mothers, fathers, children. And I also saw it as what happened to "You shall not kill." What gives us the right to take someone's life? I haven't figured that one out yet. Why can't we live in peace with each other? You think that we should be capable of doing just that. And I believe in us. I believe that we can. I believe that we will someday do just that, live in peace with each other. And I saw it, and I know it will. I probably won't see it. But what about now? What about hatred? What about all these negative emotions that we get because we are human? I believe, and I experience for myself, that if we want to see a tomorrow, we need to forgive. We need to forgive. And I mean just that. The future is based on service, on lovingness, and on caring for each other. This is our future. We need to work with it, and I think we will do it. And yes, I am a near-death experiencer, although my first experience happened when I was 7 years old in France, where I grew up, in the center of France. I was in vacation, it was July 7th, at my grandparents' estate. And I loved to be there because I had freedom. I love flowers, I could run, I could see all kinds of animals. And it was hot that day. I wanted to make a bouquet for my grandmother of sweet pea, right? Red sweet pea, beautiful. Love them. Problem with that is that they were located in a field of wheat that was by far much taller than I was. I kind of stopped for a second and debated if I was going to go through that field or not. Didn't hesitate, but I just went. But in the process of doing this, I disturbed an asp, a poisonous snake. And I felt this huge pain on my left ankle. But before this happened, I saw the snake. I saw the viper. And it looks like the viper was directly staring at me. From this moment, I just know that she was deaf. And the pain that followed, the blood on my ankle, the viper waving away from me, I started to scream as loud as I could and as much as I could. My grandmother, the whole village heard my screams. My grandmother went downhill, understood immediately what happened, put a garrote on my leg, tried to cut somewhat by the bite, and tried to extract some of the venom. But it was a bad location and she couldn't do much with that, so she picked me up, run up to the main house, lay me down, and then called my grandfather to run for a phone, because this was 1952, just after World War II, and not everyone had a phone. So he had to get to the closest phone for a doctor. In the meantime, I became violently ill, throwing up, so on, lost consciousness, and from this point on, went into a coma for 10 days. While in this coma, I had a near-death experience, which I know now it was a near-death experience. It took shape into a beautiful woman that came above my bed, was floating in the mid-air. She was glowing. She was not touching anything. And she was connecting with me, but not with words. And the way she introduced herself to me, because I was 7 probably, she said, "Je suis ta petite maman du ciel," which meant, "I am your little mother of the sky." I understood that. And I floated above my body, saw myself on the bed, didn't recognize myself, because this leg had taken a huge size and was brownish, grayish, horrible looking. I didn't pay attention. I was not interested by that at all. All I wanted was to connect and go to this being of light, which I floated to. And I just wanted to curl in her arm. I felt this immense, this huge love. This feeling was it. This is so, I cannot explain it with words, but this is more than anything that you can hope for. It's love, it's peace, it's everything. You want to be there. And once you're there, you don't want to go. You want to stay there. She gave me a message, but she made me understand very clearly that I had to listen, which I did. She came to me 3 times. The message was long. Partly, most part, the big part of it was in metaphor. I was 7 years old. I did not forget anything. From the clothes I was wearing, to the color of the sweet pea, the vision, the near-death experience itself. I recall in every details. 3 times she visited me. The last time she said, "It's now time to have a separation. But remember, I always will be with you. No matter what you do, or no matter where you are." And I love that. At 7, I love that. That was the end. And she also said, "You're not going to die. You will be fine. You will walk again. And everything is going to lead you to where you're at." Gangrene had started on the leg. And of course, the doctors talk about amputation. Here I am. A month later, everything was, the leg was back to a normal size. I had to learn again how to walk, and many other things along with that. But all the details were just jamming my mind, and I had to talk to someone. So of course I talked to my grandmother, who was a healer. She healed people with plants, but she also had a gift. And she also she did seance for people. In other words, she was a medium. But it was a secret. Nobody was supposed to talk about it, although everybody knew. Well, she said to me, if you want to live a normal life, don't ever talk about your experience to anyone. People will laugh at you, they will put you away, and think that you're crazy. So I didn't. 10 years later, after this, I grew up in a Catholic school, private school. That was the thing to do at the time, I guess, for good education. I wouldn't do that to my child. Okay. So that's where I grew up until I was 18 years old. 10 years exactly later, all this year, I was waiting for this lady of life to reappear, something to happen. I wanted to go back to this light. This is all I wanted. I wanted to go into that beautiful, peaceful, loving space. I wanted this forgiveness. I wanted this space. I wanted to go. She never came. So what did I do? I thought, well, if she doesn't want to come to me, why don't I go to her? So I tried to commit suicide. I did a pretty good job, apparently, because I found myself in a hospital. And I left my body. I was watching, they were pumping my stomach, working on me. My heart apparently had stopped for a few minutes, or a couple of minutes. And I just left. All I wanted was to go in this light, to find a space, to see her. And I was attracted to a point where I knew, after this point, there was the light. And what it was, I was just sucked inside a dark hole, which later, of course, I learned was a tunnel. And this tunnel kind of spit me out on the other hand, basically. It was not comfortable at all. Actually, as I became sort of claustrophobia, and I still don't like closed space. I still have a problem to go for an MRI. And to go driving through a tunnel, too. So it did left some pretty serious scar. After being on the other side of this hole, yes, I found the light. There it was. The same feeling, this loving space. Here it was. And then I hear this enormous voice, man's voice this time, but no one there to see, telling me, you can't stay. You haven't begun your work yet. And I argue with everyone. Believe me, you did not want to argue with that voice. So I had to find my body, get into it, and go back. I'm not going to try that again, ever. They don't want me. So what's the point? I know now that I have to go through all the way, and once I will be finished, I will know. So here I was back on the gurney, and this nurse, older nurse, was sitting by the gurney, crying, because everybody thought I was gone. And then I opened my eyes and I just looked at her, and she screamed. She screamed so loud, she ran down the hall and found people. And then I was back. After this, my life became, I wouldn't say a living hell, but very, very difficult, step by step, year by year. I was terrible. I was not a nice person. I did things to people that I would not ever do, or even think that I really did that. The nun, the school, they wanted to get rid of me so badly. I was horrible. That was the near-death experience after effect. And that lasted until my son, well, actually before my son was born, I finally accepted, that I had to be here. So I tried to find some things that I would be fulfilled and find some interest in helping people. I had this need of helping people. Another thing that the near-death experience did to me, I was bottled up with so much love inside that I needed to give this love. I needed to pass it on. I needed to share this. And how do you do this? Helping people was fine, but how do you do that? So I married my son Patrick's father in Paris, and we came to the US together. He was doing his military service at the embassy in Paris, and I was a student, so we married and came here. That was in 1968. Patrick was born in 1970 at Stanford Hospital. And then my life changed. Here was this little being that depended on both of us. And I started to give out all this love that I had bottled up to this child. Patrick was a wonderful child. He was good, he was very wise, very young, giving advice to adults. He was unreal. And the way I see it today, I have accepted his death. But I also know that Patrick had chosen that path. And Patrick came for very specific reasons. Changes needed to be made, and by him being killed in Iraq, a lot of things have bounced back from his death, including changing the legislation. Also, the way he was killed was not revealed to me immediately. I was told at first that he was killed in an ambush by insurgents, shot multiple times. But after his death, the soldier from his unit started to return, and pretty much all of them have come to the house. And I started to hear versions that didn't fit with what the Pentagon has said. So I started my own investigation. And what really happened was that Patrick enlisted after 9/11, as you saw, but he didn't thought that he would be deployed because he was 34 years old when he was shot. And he enlisted with the National Guards as a reaction to be here in California or within the country, as the Guard should be. They are not international guards, as far as I know. But, however, they are deployable. He didn't thought, honestly, that he would be deployed in case of a conflict. We didn't talk about conflict right after 9/11. But instead of doing what he was supposed to be doing as an engineer, he instead, because he was very good with people, was chosen to train Iraqi soldiers and officers. Now, there is a big problem with that to begin with. But they killed him. 3 of them shot and killed him. So in other words, it was premeditated, it was a murder, and there is a trial that's supposed to be happening whenever. Nobody wanted to tell me the truth. But I made such a racket that finally I was delivered the autopsy report and the official report from his death. Through the Pentagon, General Hillman came to the house personally with 3 officers to give me on hand these reports. From this point on, a leak happened from the Pentagon to the press, to the Associated Press, National Wire. And when I got home that day, I had 5 satellite trucks sitting in front of the house. In 3 days, this news went all over the world. That was Patrick. Okay? He wanted people to know how he was killed. Just after his death, I followed instruction, if you like. How did I know what to do? I didn't. But since the media was at the house immediately after his death, because on top of that, he was the first National Guard to have been killed from his unit since World War II and Korea. So that attracted news by itself. Where I'm going with this is, because of all this noise around his death, changes have been made at the Pentagon, but also in Iraq to protect the soldier. Just after he was killed, his coffin returned from Iraq. And at the time, it's changed a little bit now, but at the time there was a ban forbidding photograph being taken from flag-laid coffin or film. The media being at the house asked me, do you want us to be there when your son will return? I didn't hesitate very long. I just said, yes, please. Why? Why should I hide my son coming home in a coffin? The day he left for Iraq, he didn't hide. He was actually cheering us up. Why in the world would I hide him coming home in a coffin? No, I wanted the whole world to see who Patrick McCaffrey was, what he did for his country. And I wanted this nation to think. My son could have been your son. Patrick was America's son. He was brilliant. He had a career in front of him, 2 children, and he left us for a matter of honor and being a patriot. So yes, I wanted to talk about my son. I still do, and I probably will till the end. To honor him, my first reaction was to go to Iraq and also to speak against the war. For a year and a half, close to 2 years, I was a very strong anti-war activist. And then I hit a wall, and I thought to myself, what am I doing? Who am I helping? This is not what I wanted. This is not what Patrick would have wanted. The war is here. There is nothing I can do about this now. But from this war, people are coming home, injured, wounded, suffering from PTSD, and many other things. We are only discovering today about depleted uranium. What can it do to a person? So there is a notion of knowledge to be learned on what is happening to our soldiers when they return home. From Patrick's unit, only 2 out of 100 men are functional. They pretty much all have PTSD. They pretty much cannot work. They need help. Do you know how many hundreds of thousands of soldiers will return home when this is over? It's like a tsunami. We're not ready for that. The VA is right now overwhelmed already. the story of all these guys and girls, I immediately, opened myself up and said, okay, this is it, I need help. The first soldier was Patrick's friend. He's in his 40s now, National Guard also. Married for 15 years, a daughter. Came home, couldn't function. He was so happy to be home. And he was saying, put my jean on, go to work, be with my daughter and my wife. Nothing more that he wanted. But he couldn't even get out of his house. He had panic attack. He had flashback. He thought it was a miracle. One day he called me about 3 o'clock in the morning. Don't exactly remember the time, but pick up the phone. And Steve was on the phone, hysterical. What he had done, he had locked himself inside his bedroom, put the dresser in front of the door, and he was afraid to hurt his wife and his daughter. He couldn't control himself. So I kept him on the phone. I know that I could not leave him be. I kept him as long as I could, speaking on the phone. And immediately after this, I told him to be ready in the morning. I got back on the phone and spoke to Los Angeles and many, many organizations and people that I know. I know we had to get him out of there. It became a matter of life or death. We collected enough money to buy a ticket for him. And this ticket, we sent him to San Jose Airport, and from there he left for Oregon. Why Oregon? I met a man called Claude Ancient Thomas. Claude Ancient Thomas is a Buddhist monk, but he is also a Vietnam vet who had been wounded many times. I think he has 3 Purple Heart. He had PTSD up until today. He worked with Thich Nhat Hanh, that you just saw. Thich Nhat Hanh is also someone that always has helped soldiers. Well, the two, worked together for a while. And Claude Ancient Thomas became a monk. And now his whole life is dedicated in helping soldiers. What does he do? He creates retreats, cross-country, isolated places, if possible. And the one in Oregon was just that. In the woods, soldier came who couldn't cope with life anymore, were taught how to meditate, how to understand what PTSD does to a person, how to control it, breathing. It works. But unfortunately, the retreats are not lasting long enough. So what I came up with was the idea to create a farm or farms, and I call those for the future veterans villages. We have received a lot of attention nationally recently because the idea is so simple. It's coming from a mom. And what does a mom do when a son is in trouble? When you open the door, number one. And you tell the child you stay until you're back on your feet, right? But then you need a space, a special space of peace, where this loss of security can be regained. So we're in the process of starting a series of veterans villages. And this is my dedication to my son, but also to our veteran. 60% of our veterans today have children. What is going to happen if, when they come home, cannot take care of their children, cannot support their family? Picture that. So this has become my mission. Since I was 10 years old, I know that I was supposed to work with people, like I said, but I wasn't sure what it was. And in the 90s, I started a group of volunteers called Angel Staff. Angel Staff were trained volunteers that worked at the bedside of people who are terminally ill and dying. It still exists. I don't do it much anymore, or I think I don't, but I really do. I thought this was my mission, really. But then my son was killed. And I realized that I was prepared for this. Working with hospice all these years trained me to face this situation, but also to be strong enough to support people now, families. Soldiers who have lost everything will never be able to walk or to work or even to see. I have so much patience when it comes to listening to people and finding out what we can do to help. We have a chapter open in North Carolina. Someone gave us 7 houses in New York State, near Rochester. In spring, we will go there and open these for the veteran. Right now, we're talking with Habitat for Humanity to see if we can work something to help both situations, veterans and what they do actually. In California, someone gave us a brand new building, 4-story tall, to become housing for veterans. But what I want, and we are planning to raise money for this summer, beginning this summer, I want to buy 1,000 acres of land with farming land, woods, has to have water, and these 1,000 acres, people, veterans can live there, will be able to live there, work this, completely self-sustained, ecologically sound, not depending on anybody. It will happen. It's on processing. I see it, I feel it, it makes sense, we're getting there. So this is really why I am here. Patrick is the catalyst of helping soldiers, re-establishing a balance in this world. One thing that was not explained in the short little film that we saw before, there is a lot of repeats. I say the same thing 3 times. The first time that I spoke about parents coming together was the first day. The second time I repeated that was the 3rd day, and the last day also was that. Except that the last day, it looks like an empty room on one side, but all the people who came from Iraq were on the other side. They did not want it to be on film. They could be killed for that. But the room was full. So for 3 and 4 families who came the first day, we ended up with a room full of people. I am actually still in touch with a doctor and 2 nurses. One of the nurses came last year. She'd never been to America. She did not want to come to America, but she came to see me. And I show her, and she met real American people, not like the Americans. So she changed her view. But again, you have extremes. Hatred, and then you have love. Starting in the middle. What I want to see and what I'm starting to work with right now is to bring people together, the left and the right, coming together to work with our children. When it comes to a soldier who was given part of his life and left dead in Iraq, I don't think the right or the left has much to do with anything but caring for that person. So, I'm leaving the politics behind. And I have become neutral. I still have my feelings on the war, but I decided, because I'm helpless with it, I have decided instead to help out and make a difference, one person at a time. And that's where we're going to keep going, in this road. My third near-death experience happened in 1999. And without knowing, I actually died with PMH Atwater, the researcher of near-death experience, with her grandchild. She had a 2-year-old granddaughter that died in 48 hours from meningitis viral. I became ill at the same moment. And working with hospice, I became partly an empath, which means that I feel people. It's pain. It was easy for me to work with hospice because I could feel them. I could feel the pain. I could feel what they needed to hear. I know when they needed a hug or when I needed to be silent. So, and I became ill a few times in the process. This day, I was sitting at someone's bedside, a lady who was already in a coma, and I was just holding her hand. But I was supposed to stay for 8 hours. And this was the day where this child became sick. So I had this pain in my solar plexus, a violent pain. And immediately following this, I felt a very, very high fever coming. And I started to drip. And I said, oh no, I can't leave, I can't do anything. I couldn't move, just about immediately.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Some of your voice drops.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So, yeah, I stayed at her bedside. I was at her bedside. And when this fever came, I panicked a little bit because I can't leave this woman. What am I going to do? I picked up my cell phone and I dropped it. I couldn't do anything with it. So I just closed my eyes and I was still holding her hand. And I was sitting in a green chair. This green chair was green, but I was glowing. I did this, I was glowing. And I said, oh boy, here we go again. So I just, say whatever, whatever. And I just let it go. I, with the fever, found myself in another dimension that I didn't recognize, and immediately there was no explanation given to me. There was voices, and I was showing a life review. Life review, not my life review, but a life review of the world. Past, to present, and to future. We had a choice to make a few years ago. We had a choice to go left or to go right. Well, we took our direction. We are in it. When Patrick was killed and I decided to go to Iraq, first to Jordan, and then when we landed, I had a very powerful pressure on my chest. The sky was blood red. The colors over there are quite different than what we have here. And I just know I was in one of the visions. I just know that what was shown to me was there, was part of this. I was in tears. I was sobbing. I just couldn't move. I was overwhelmed. And we traveled to the Iraqi border. We traveled through quite a bit of land to Petra. I recognized it. This is part of the future that we have chosen. We could have chosen a much easier road, but we chose this one. We are in it, but we need to work harder that we would have in the other one. It's about consciousness. It's about elevating our consciousness to a degree that we will be, again, where we're supposed to be at. But right now, we are in a yin-yang. You have the light and you have the darkness. Without darkness, you don't have light, and vice versa. You have to have a balance. So it's really totally up to us to elevate this consciousness. With awareness, we need to know. We need to understand where we are at. By understanding, again, with love. The future is based on two things: service and love. Not money, not power. Those are the things that will save us from disaster. And I'm not just talking materially, I'm talking about inside. Peace starts right here. When you have this peace inside, you can pass it on. You can pass it on. You can touch people. The more you will give of yourself, the more you will receive. You'll be amazed. Again, I work all this year with hospice, and I had quite a few volunteers. When my son was shot and killed, I was in 29 Palm, visiting a friend who was dying. She asked for me. And the moment he was killed, I was climbing a 8-foot fence. 29 Palms in the desert, and they have those chain link fence. I was on top of it because the key somebody gave me was wrong, but didn't open the door. So I had to go in the back door, and doing this, I was on top of that fence. And then I stopped there, and I had again a pressure on my chest. And what do I see? I see a beautiful light. A green light in the sky. And I said, oh, something happened. Something happened. Got down in the house, and here was the cat, my friend's cat. I know the cat, and the cat was very friendly. But instead of welcoming me, she started to meow away. She did that the whole night. Hiding under my bed, I couldn't make her shut up. The cat knew. The cat felt. The cat knew that something was up. So in the morning I drove to the hospital, and very short time after that, I was giving my friend a foot massage. My cell phone rang. It was my daughter-in-law. And she was hysterical. I couldn't understand a word she was saying. I said, oh my God, what happened? And then she passed the phone to an officer who was with her. Of course, he told me, ma'am, I'm sorry to say, but your son, Nadia McCaffrey, was shot and killed at 11:45 this morning in Balad. And I have a blank after this because when I came to, I was on the floor, curled up like this, like a fetus. I think I screamed. I'm not sure what I did. But I was in the hospital, so people came around me and tried to help me up. And I just picked myself up when I saw this, and I just went to my friend's bed, and I gave her a hug, and I said, okay, it's time for me to go now. She knew Patrick, so she was devastated too. I drove back 8 solid hours to Tracy by myself. I wanted to be by myself because I wanted to be able to face this reality. I wanted to understand that my son was not coming home. I wanted to understand that he was never going to give me a card saying, I love you, Mom. But once I was in the car, every 15 minutes I received a phone call from the volunteers that I worked with and trained. They called me until I reached Tracy, making sure that I was okay. And the next morning, they all came. For a week, they all came. I never asked anything to anyone. I gave myself to this work for so many years that I wouldn't even think of asking. But you see, when the time came, I got so much back. So much. They're still here for me. I was there for them when they lost a family member. But that shows you what service does to a person. If you don't expect anything, then you can give even more. But the funny part is that always something comes back to you. Now I know. And this life review was almost black and white, flashing pictures very, very fast. Although I was not watching the pictures, I was in it. And by being in those pictures, in this scenario, I have work to do on both future. And that's why I was very clearly told that I had to start centers. Okay. And now, this is also another thing. We need to relearn things from our roots. We need to go back to where we came from. I'm not going to speak forever, but I think you get an idea of what I am up to. My work is not done. I still have a long way to go, but I don't quit. I'm very stubborn, and once I start something, people cannot get rid of me. Ask the Pentagon, they know. Or my senator, or my congressman, okay, they know. So we will do it, we are doing it. And once, the more people that we speak to and share our experiences, us as near-death experiencer, the more reaction, the more chance we have to elevate again this consciousness. It's a world consciousness. I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about all of us. We are all responsible. We are all one. So, if you have a person who has negative thoughts and action, be good. That's the yin and the yang. It works. It really works. So, any questions?
Well, first of all, Nadia, thank you so much for being here, for what you've shared with us. Last month when I was here, I asked the people to pray for my nephew Michael, who is in the Navy. He has trained as a Navy SEAL, and in less than 2 weeks, he is going to be deployed to Bahrain. He is not going to have the shelter of a large ship. He is trained with a number of people and is going to be on a small ship patrolling the waters of Bahrain. Several months ago, people who are doing what he is going to be doing were in the news when there was a standoff. I'm concerned about him. My sister and brother-in-law should have arrived within the last hour or so to visit with him and his second wife before he leaves. Yesterday, a packet of photographs arrived from him the first time he sent me photographs. And most of them were blown up, 8.5 by 11, of Michael and his second wife, Kathy. Michael and his 5-year-old from his first marriage, my sister and brother-in-law, Chris and Fred, and all of his pets. And an address where I could write him while he's in Bahrain. And I looked at that packet yesterday and I was thinking, I hope this is not a parting gift from him. And I have to accept, of course, that he might not return. He knows that I don't support this war. I'm not sure what his feelings are about it, but I did communicate to him that I'm not against anybody who finds themselves having to serve. And as I was listening to you, I want so much to be a part of what you are doing out of love for my nephew, out of love for you and your son, and because I believe in world peace. And I thank you.
Thank you. There is no guarantee, but I think it's very important for you to support him, yeah, just like you said. Just let him know that you love him. And that's a lot. That's huge. Now to help, we all can do something. Oh, sorry.
I want to echo the sentiments of that lovely young lady, but I'm also the founder of Universal Dream of Peace. And I have a website. I'm also a producer from Cable Access TV in Skokie, which goes about maybe just about 25 suburbs. And I would very, very, in the bottom of my soul, want to work with you and see if we can put your DVD, if you so desire, to air on my website, which reaches many different countries. And I guess I'm here for a reason today, particularly. I wasn't going to be here today. And something drew me. So if I can give you my card and you can look at the website and see if you're comfortable with that. And then my number's on here, my name, and you can contact me if that's okay.
I am.
Okay, thank you. And bless you. And bless you.
Thank you very much. No questions? Ooh.
I'm curious, how aware are the people in Iraq, the mothers and especially, that this war is really perpetrated by this administration and not for the American people?
Repeat the question, please.
Could you have her repeat the question?
Okay. Well, my question's about, I'm wondering how the people in Iraq feel, or how much do they know, especially the mothers, I think, the women, that the war is being perpetrated by the administration and not by the whole of the American people.
Women today are very aware. Yeah, the people know. But you see, I don't know if you have met any Iraqi people or Middle Eastern people. They're very sweet, they're very gentle, their hospitality is something like I haven't never seen before. And they want to know, they want to understand. You see, what I heard myself from these families, they all came because they wanted to share their story with us. Unfortunately, most of the story and pictures and video that I saw, we could not show them. They were much too graphic for anyone to see. But if I was sobbing so hard in some of the scenes here, it's because we were just watching some of these scenes. People welcome us, thinking that we were going to do what we said we were going to do. In other words, getting rid of Saddam, putting everything in order, and then go home. But instead of this, it has turned into what we know, and Abu Ghraib and all of that. So my son was killed just after Abu Ghraib. Just after Abu Ghraib. So Abu Ghraib was a point where people reacted very strongly. And many things have degenerated from there. Before that, there was hope to work with them and, do what we were supposed to be doing. But not anymore, because nobody can trust anybody. So, and we are not leaving Iraq. We have built an embassy that holds 18,000 people, the state of the art, just a beautiful thing. We have 14 other bases, brand new. Why should we leave it? No, I'm not saying me.
Why did we build it? If we're only there temporarily,
No.
why were we building all that?
Yes, of course. But what I am saying now, if you do all of this, are you going to walk away from it? No.
Well, they have no intention.
Of course not. No, we know that. But there is hope. Like I say, we have entered a very chaotic road.
And as long as there's bloodshed on earth, there will never be peace. As
We-
long as that is going on, there.
But it's not just Iran.
Oh yeah, it's all over.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even here within our own country. There's bloodshed everywhere. As long as, I believe, as long as we're bloodthirsty,
Yeah, I
and
know.
as long as we still shed blood of any kind, there will never be peace.
We shall not kill. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I have two questions. The first is, please refresh my memory, exactly when was Abu Ghraib? What year? In other words, when exactly was your son killed?
Patrick was killed June 22nd, 2004. Abu Ghraib was discovered at the end of April.
Okay, thank you. And the second question is with regard to the trial of the people who supposedly killed him. Who is the judge overseeing this? Is this a United States military court? Is it tell us more about that.
Nothing to do with us.
Okay.
They are Iraqi soldiers, so it's going to be dealt with by Iraqi judge and court. That's why I want to go. I don't want to point the finger to anybody, but I want to see. What I really want to do, I want to try to talk to the people who shot him. I want to try to understand why. Because Patrick was a very gentle person. He would take care of everybody. Iraqi and he never made a difference with people. He loved everybody. He cared for people. So I just want to know why. And they didn't like that when I said that.
I admire your fearlessness in going after the truth, and I want to know if you had any harassment from doing that. Any harassment from official parties or whatever.
Please repeat the question.
Yes. Did I receive any threats, in other words, or being harassed by any official sources or people? Yes, of course I have. It doesn't make any difference to me. Okay. My phone is tapped. How I found that out? Well, I was doing a commercial for the first election in 2004, I guess, yeah. And I was talking to the person, for the producer of this television commercial. The television commercial was supposed to be shown on CNN and so on. It was a very short TV spot, exactly, it's not really a commercial. So when we were discussing this on the phone, the producer had to hang up and he said, I will call you in 2 minutes. And within 2 minutes is English minutes, so it's exactly what he said. So I hung up the phone and I waited. And he didn't call me back. Half an hour after that, I was busy. I didn't realize the time going by, so I picked up the phone, called him. And his phone was busy. So I said, this is very strange. And he finally picked up the phone. And I said, what happened with you? I waited for your phone call. He said, I tried to call you 3 times. And there is a voice coming out that there was no one living at this number. And I said, what? You know my number? And he said, yes, I don't understand what happened. And I even left a message on your machine. So I looked, it was flashing, I pushed, and guess what? I heard somebody's voice I never heard before. Not mine, not his, saying, this person is not living at this. Okay? And picking the phone, you hear different conversations now and then. Also, just after I came back from the Middle East, we had visits. I travel a lot and speak quite a few places, okay? And my daughter-in-law at the time was along with my granddaughter at the house. So one day, she didn't tell me, I found out way later, that this weekend there was 2 helicopters who came in circle around above the house. It's not much of that. And then she said the weekend after that too, but this time they stayed longer, just above our house. And I said, this is weird. So the weekend after that I was supposed to speak in Los Angeles. I canceled the trip and I stayed. I wanted to see for myself. Well, 11 o'clock they came, 2 of them. Above the house, no, and yeah, frightening. But I got out in the front lawn and I wanted them to see me, so I just stood there. And I had my a small camera disposable in my hand. I wanted to take a picture. I said, no, don't do that. They may think I should try to shut. No, good excuse, So I didn't. But no, the whole neighborhood saw it. What the helicopter did, he did that. We have big, tall tree. Just above the tree, and he was looking at me. We were looking at each other. And no marking. Nothing on the helicopters. I worked with Ray McGovern. Some of you may know who he is. He was for 27 years CIA analyst, worked with different presidents. We toured together and spoke. I took call him and I said, describe the color and everything. And he said, I have an idea, but I don't think he wasn't sure. Shortly after this, President Bush came to Stockton to support our congressman that had to go, Pombo. I didn't support Pombo at all. Anyway, I was there with my son's picture, but I wasn't shouting or anything, I was just there. And pretty soon, because a lot of people came, we had a couple of helicopters circling above the crowd. Guess what? Light blue and white, security, land security. But I'm not breaking any laws. I'm speaking my mind, it's my right. And again, I became neutral on the whole matter of the war. But I'm a soldier. Now that I took that, my cause, I'm not going to stop, no. And yes, they don't like that. But, after I was on the phone talking with the Secretary of State for a visa to go to Iraq, I was told that no, I couldn't do that for now. So fine. I got another phone call, a man, and he said, if you decide to travel to Iraq on your own, you will come back like your son in a coffin. And he hung up. So I think that's clear. Don't you? Yeah. Well, I don't care. It doesn't make any difference to me, okay? I've been in your side. I know what it's like. And if I have to go now, fine. Yes.
What can we do?
What can we do? About what?
To help about this, to stop all of this evil stuff.
Things are this way, and there is not much we can do right now. We can live with our rights. If our rights are diminished, it's up to us to maintain them. And in order to do this, we need to be in touch with our congressman or woman. We need to be in touch with our senator, and go to Washington if needed. Write letters. Those are your rights.
And not be intimidated.
Of course not.
Because that's exactly what they're trying to do to get you to stop. And
Of course.
scare all your neighbors and,
Well, I'm unstoppable. So,
yeah, but your neighbors were probably a little.
yeah.
They don't want, but you can't be intimidated by all that.
Well, yeah, but they didn't thought it was so funny because a lot of things happen at the house, you know. We always have a lot of media, a lot of things, the news, everything. So they didn't thought too much of that. But the day after Patrick was killed, I was inside the house and the neighbor ran inside and said, "Get out immediately, you have to see this, don't miss this." So I ran, Patrick's dad was here, and so were the older neighbor. There was two Navy jets from Moffett Field who were circling the house. And what they did, they designed a big heart just above the house. And we were all out, the whole city saw it. And after this, they did 2 loops like this and waved at us. You know. So the neighbors are used to activity in this city. They have no idea what it could have been. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, shifting gears a little bit
Yeah.
from something you spoke to about your world life review.
Yeah.
Could you give a little more detail about that? You said it was a split. There were 2 scenarios. You didn't speak to it very much. Could you elaborate, please, about that, what that was about? I've never heard of it. Not a global life review, no.
No, well, I guess neither did I before it happened. But it happened. And I don't know why me either.
What was it? What did you see?
Well, like I said, there was one of the future who would have been very easier, you know. I don't want to describe some of the things that I saw because, again, it was really shown. I first talked about it and people kind of freaked out. So I really don't want to go there. But one,
Please, here in UK,
Yeah, it's different here.
very different.
Maybe it was a private showing. Everybody's got to have their own.
well,
This is in '99, right?
oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 1999. What really, I don't know why they chose me to show this for, but maybe I do now, because I've been all over the world, you know, talking about consciousness and everything else. But, yeah, we could have taken, before landing in Iraq, we should have, as people, as citizens, be there and say, no, this is not right. Iraq did not invade us. Iraq did not attack us. But nobody did anything. The few who did were so few that it didn't make any difference. And I realized then that it was a plan. You know, it was planned way before 9/11 happened. And what is following now is part of that plan. It doesn't really make any difference who's going to be president next. It's going to make some difference, the way I see it, but not a huge difference. This world this planet is changing. And I'm not just talking about weather, I'm not talking about global warming only. Of course, it has a big part in tomorrow, a huge part of tomorrow, including huge catastrophe. But we know about this already. So what are we supposed to be doing about this? About the water rising 22 feet? About the glacier melting? I flew over the North Pole coming back from Russia not too long ago. The North Pole is brown, and there is oceans filled with icebergs floating. Not much ice left. It's amazing. You know, I thought everybody in the plane would be shocked. People had their own conversation, nobody paid them. And I was just glued to the window, I couldn't believe it. So we are in the middle of all of this. But we are also in the middle of not being in control of humanity. We are gone, we have gone, we have let it go. Why? Because I have my dog, I have my children going to college, I have my house, I have my mortgage, I have to work from 9 to 5. I see it on the news, but what can I do? And this is normal in so many ways. I mean, we have to survive. But the real point is, it's up to all of us to make a difference, to change things. We have the power to do it. We have this power in our hands. It's up to us to do it. We can do it. But do we want to do it? Do we want to bother with it? I'm not sure. Many people, yes, but I can't speak for everybody. Yes?
I would like to add to what you had to say. I was recently introduced to a DVD called Endgame by Alex Jones. It's 3 hours long. And when you say that this has been planned, it has been planned.
I met him. I know who he is.
It's by the Bilderberg organization. The elite of the elite gather once a year, and they're the ones that get together tainting our food, making medicines to keep us sick, creating genocide, creating ethnic cleansing. And the government, as we know, like the Bush and Dems, are pawns. They listen, they carry it on, and they do the bidding of this organization, who has been around since before the 1934. And now it is becoming, little by little, known to the American people, known to the other people. These are dictators from Finland, Africa, Iraq, the United States, everywhere.
Yeah,
It's called Endgame by Alex Jones. Alex Jones is the journalist who has been following this organization. Security unbelievable.
He also has a radio show and a TV show. I was on the show,
Right.
yeah. I was on the
Yes,
show a few times.
yeah.
I know exactly who he is. And, the funny thing is that if we want to get answers, if we want to find some answers, it's all out there. It's all on the internet.
That's the thing they didn't plan on. The Bilderbergs in 1934
Well,
before.
they're still going.
Yeah, but I think they did not know about the internet, and that is our saving grace, I think.
Yes, but our rights are disappearing slowly but surely. Since 9/11, just take in consideration how much last right we have. And I don't know if people are aware plainly. I don't want this to turn into a political thing because it's not what it's about. But it's really, again, up to us to stop all of this. It's anything that you want to find out is on the internet. And yes, I don't think it was. But maybe one day the internet is going to stop. It's a matter of control, So we don't know about this part. But to find our answer once more, if you don't know what depleted uranium is, Google it. Go there, find for yourself, read about it, see how threatening this is.
And I think we need to remember that there are millions and billions of us, and only a handful of them. These Bilderbergs are these people that are trying to control what's going on here and actually reduce the population of the planet. There's only a few of them relative to the.
Yeah, but what are we doing about it?
Well, Alex Jones does a great job trying to wake people up.
There's a character too.
It's about sharing. It's about opening your mouth and standing up, taking a stand, a public stand.
Yeah. But I'm talking about people. Not an exchange.
Yeah, I think it has to do with taking a stand, not just being quiet, but actually standing up for what you believe.
But there are so many things around if you want to find out.
Yeah,
It's
you have
here.
to become informed.
It's in plain sight. It's right here. So if you're curious, go for it. Find it. And see what you can do about it.
What were you inviting us to Google?
Depleted uranium.
Depleted.
Depleted, which is not depleted, by the way.
Yeah.
Uranium, yes.
How long was your son, I got 3 questions. How long was your son deployed in Iraq before he was killed? Did you have a premonition about his death? And what was the communication with your son while he was in Iraq? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Patrick was deployed, he arrived in Iraq the second week of April, and he was killed June 22nd, 2004. I know he was, when I was 10 years old again, I received some answers, and I know, I was very clearly told that the second part of my life, and more reaching 60 than 50, would completely change due to a huge thing. That's all I could get out of this whole question I had. I had other things that show me that, yeah, Patrick was not coming back. Patrick, no, he was not coming back.
How did you know that? Or how did Patrick let you know?
Okay. The night before he was deployed, the night before he left the house to take the plane to go to Germany and Iraq, my granddaughter and he were very, very close, just like this. She was 2 at the time. They both were sitting on top of the bed watching The Lion King. You all know about The Lion King. And she was really hanging tight to her dad. And you know the part where the Lion King is killed? She looked at her dad straight in the face and she said, "Daddy, that's you." Not one time, she repeated that to him. Patrick panicked. He ran in the kitchen where I was and he said, "Mom, do you know what she told me?" And I said, "She's just a baby." You know, I was in shock too, but I tried to tell him, not everything would be okay. He just knew. And the same night we were talking in the front garden, and a lot of around the house in Tracy we have a lot of big crow, and some raven sometimes. This night, Patrick was very spiritual, and he and I did the medicine card, and he liked the animal card too. So he picked one card, and he came up with the raven. He was wearing his uniform that night, and he had a raven on his shoulder. So he took the cards with him in Iraq, and he said to me, "Mom, if I don't come back, I always will be around the house with the ravens, because I need to make sure that everything is okay." He also made me swear, that I would take care of his children and his wife. And how to do it? Oh boy, did I have the details. He was like that, yeah. So, and when he was in Iraq, he emailed one of his friends from high school, actually, that forwarded the email to me. And he actually told her, "This time, my friend, I'm not coming home." You just know. And in his voice, when he called home every day or every couple of days, because he could afford it, but he wanted to talk to us, he wanted to talk to the children, and me, and his dad, everybody. He wanted to cheer us up, but So, the day he showed us his will, which was a couple of days before he left, I didn't want to see the will, neither was his wife. So he got very excited at us. He said, "You better sit down right now, because from now on, there is nobody here but the 2 of you." He went a little farther than that. And that was clear, that he knew exactly. But my granddaughter, after he left, she and I watched The Lion King over and over. And the same place, she hung on to me so tight and she said, "Grandma, that's my daddy." She saw him in the backyard the day of his memorial. She's very intuitive and she has some gifts, no question about that. but she was in the backyard playing with the dog, and there was a lot of people around the house and everything. She ran inside, grabbed me by the arm, and dragged me basically outside by the elementary. And I could see by the elementary the shape of a silhouette. You know when the heat is very la 130 degrees on the asphalt road, what it does? It was like this. And it was a shape, a person's shape, tall. And she looked at me all happy and she said, "Daddy's here. Daddy's okay." And she described it, you know. But Patrick, no. No.
I had a near-death experience, and when I went up to the light, my older sister, who was deceased, had come to me and said, "Go back, it's not your time." Do you believe we all have a time
Yes.
to cross?
Yeah. We have choice, we have free will in some point, but, you know, well, either we do it or we don't do it, and we come back, or whatever. That is another plan if we don't accomplish what we're supposed to be here for this time. I don't want to come back. I really don't want to come back. But yes, and working with hospice, I saw some unbelievable things. Beautiful, really.
Tell us.
Oh, yeah? Well, I think the most powerful scene that I remember the most, well, one of the most, is Anne. Anne was a sweetheart. She was 96 years old when she passed away. And she was very near death a few times. That's how I came into the picture. And she wanted to keep me because we could talk. And she wanted to talk about this, and there was nobody there to talk about, nobody wanted to talk about this to her. And she felt comfortable with me, so we just did. And I never mentioned that I had near-death experiences, but she kind of knew that I know more than I was telling. So I just answer her questions. And the friendship, you know, grew that way. And when her time came, this morning, she asked me not to open the shutter, to leave it in semi-light. And she asked me also to put some music for her. And she was in a hospital bed, so I raised it slightly so she could be comfortable and see, you know, without turning and so on. And I sat with her, I just stayed there. I didn't talk, I just stayed there. And suddenly, I was not facing her. I was sitting side by side to her bed. Okay? And suddenly, I looked, her lips were going away. I mean, she was talking silently. I mean, you know, very low, but, and her eyes were going, and all over the room, you know. And actually, you could see that something had happened in this room. You could feel it. You could see the light was different. Something happened in a room. And I became very interested, and I just watched. And I just told her very softly, I said, "Anne, it's okay. It's okay. I know about it. They're here for you." And what she went on, she totally ignored me, and she went on talking and laughing and everything. She had a room full of people for her and angels, and she described it afterward. But she wouldn't talk to the others. She talked to one nurse, and the nurse said, "She has too much medicine, too much." So we left it at that. Yeah. But the day she died, it was so beautiful. You know, it was just so peaceful. You really know that something so much bigger is behind the whole scene. I felt that big. You know, you're just such a little thing in the universe. You felt that way. But you also felt, I also felt, you know, the power that we all have. The greatness that we can all have. This is very much like birth. You know, birth, you're coming from the place that you are from. Dying is going back to where you are from. There is nothing ugly about dying. Nothing. It can teach us so much, and so much wisdom. I have been Respect.
It's been wonderful having you here. We will adjourn to Ruby's, and if you can join us, please do. I'm sure it will be an interesting conversation. Also, next month we are having Mark Macy, and Mark will be doing private sessions. Mark has a special camera, for those of you who came later. He will be doing private half-hour sessions for $60. You will get at least 2 photos, and the photos should show your face and the beings that are around you. Often people recognize a deceased grandmother or uncle or somebody on the photo with them. If you have any questions, he has 3 books out and a CD, and we will be selling all of them next month at the meeting. So don't rush out and get them, buy it from us. This is an example of one of his spirit photos. It has, you can see clearly more than one face on top of the other. And if it's somebody you know, you can pick it out pretty easily. So everybody will get at least 2 photographs. And Mr. Macy also said to point out that this might be the last time he'll be able to do it because Polaroid has announced that they're not going to be making film anymore, or a Polaroid film, and he uses Polaroid film. So for this particular camera that he uses. So this is pretty exciting. One book is Spirit Faces. One is called Miracles in the Storm, talking to the other side with the new technology of spiritual contact. And he's in touch with a lot of people in Europe who are much more into this than they are in the United States. And he'll be telling us all about this and the astounding physical evidence that they have. And his 3rd book is called Conversations Beyond the Light with Departed Friends and Colleagues by Electronic Means. And this is also a really stunning book. And his CD is called Bridge to Paradise, and it's in connection with the Monroe Institute, Amazing. So I'm sure you'll all enjoy having an opportunity to purchase these and to talk to Mr. Macy in person. And if you have time and inclination to sign up for a half-an-hour private session with him in Wilmette at my home. And it'll be Sunday, April 13th, and Monday, April 14th. So we still have a few times left, but we probably won't have them very long. So if you're interested, I'll sit here for a few minutes and you can come sign up for a time, or you can call me or email me. So have a great month. We'll see you next month. And thanks again for coming. Don't forget your trash.